What's up, y'all? I just wanted to talk about the recent fights this past weekend, but more so specifically one fighter that I want to talk about. And this is a fighter that I always knew like from a long time ago, like since probably 2014, 2013, that I knew that would eventually become a champion easily too. Like it won't even be close. And that's Devin the Dream Haney. And Devin Haney is probably one of the most skilled fighters right now, believe it or not. And I think top five in terms of talent and raw skill, I think he's up there. And it's not like a pound for pound list, and rightfully so. Like if he's on your pound for pound, at least top five or something like that, that is totally understandable for sure, for sure. But I think skill for skill, Devin Haney is at least top three in the sport right now. Cause what I saw against George Kambosos was very, very difficult to see like anybody like counter because Devin Haney knows how to use the jab pretty well. You know, he fights almost like a veteran, but he's young at the same time. So it kind of makes me wonder, like down the line when Devin Haney's fighting in his mid 30s, early 30s, how seasoned he's gonna be, you know? Because it seems like if he's not gonna go up to like 154, 160 or anything like that, he could potentially reign somewhere around 147 or something like that. Because with a skill set like that, where it's ageless and timeless, and the IQ, the acumen overall, it's gonna be very hard to beat a guy like Devin Haney, man. Because Devin Haney holds a lot of fundamentals. He holds a lot of pure athleticism and great ring generalship, man. You know, because I saw a lot of times in that fight where George Kambosos was just getting frustrated with not being able to hit Devin Haney with anything, man. Like it was barely towards the end of the fight where like he kind of figured out like how he could get rough and rugged with Devin Haney by like grabbing his arm, but he couldn't capitalize on it, man, because Devin Haney already knew what type of punches like George Kambosos was gonna throw. So George Kambosos was always not the guy to beat a guy like Devin Haney. And I emphasized on this a lot, you know, and I can understand why everyone kept saying 50-50 fight, 50-50 fight, you know, but to me it wasn't, especially to the hardcore boxing fan. Maybe the venue, maybe like the judges where everybody was hoping that Devin Haney wouldn't get robbed. Maybe that was the reason why this was a 50-50 fight to most fans out there, but if you're comparing them skill for skill, it's not even close. Styles make fights, and even though Devin Haney uh, hasn't fought a guy like Lomachenko before fighting George Kambosos, um, he's still got the experience. He's still got a lot of how do you put it? He was able to capitalize on a lot of mistakes that other fighters made, and a lot of the mistakes that he made, he learned from it. You know, I mean, I'm pretty sure we all remember the Linares fight, and we all remember the Joseph Diaz fight, and all of that. Well, Devin Haney has managed to make adjustments in his career where he's not going to let those fights like end up, you know, being some type of foreshadow for another fight that he'll make a mistake in. Otherwise, George Kambosos definitely would have capitalized on that, you know, because George Kambosos is definitely better than Linares and Joseph Diaz, you know. So right now at this point, I think Devin Haney should fight Gervonta Davis because I think Gervonta Davis could potentially have the style to disrupt the rhythm of a guy like Devin Haney. Because I think Devin Haney is already an A level fighter. I don't want to say A plus because A plus is considered for those fighters that are like the greats. You know what I mean, like Floyd Mayweather and all that. But Devin Haney definitely has the potential to be up there. You know what I mean, the A plus level fighter. But a guy like Gervonta Davis definitely has the style too. You know, if he's able to get inside, rip apart with those uppercuts that he always has from the left hand. But he needs to be wary about Devin Haney's jab because the jab of Devin Haney is very versatile. Like he's able to throw it to the body, he's able to throw it um to the head very stiffly too. You know, that's why George Kambosos wasn't too confident in getting past Devin Haney's jab. But with great head movement, you could probably slip past it, but that in itself is a difficult task. But if there's one person that I think that could do it, I think it probably could be Gervonta Davis. But from a physical standpoint, that might be Devin Haney's toughest fight potentially. Um, Other fights, I mean, you got other guys out there, you know, like Rayo and all of them, but skill for skill, I don't know, like if he has like the adequate skill enough to actually like compete with a guy like Devin Haney. You know, that way he could implement that offense to get inside and actually showcase the power that he has against Devin Haney and catch him with something. So I don't know if he's able to be on that level. You know what I mean? Skill for skill. But I know one other guy, technique wise, that could potentially give Devin Haney a lot more problems than probably even Gervonta Davis. And that's Shakur Stevenson. And even though he's at 130 pounds, I think he has the absolute great requisites to be a guy like Devin Haney potentially, because it's real hard for me to see uh, anybody being Devin Haney right now from the lower weights, man. Because I think even Devin Haney could go up to 140 and be undisputed there, believe it or not. That's just my opinion. And Shakur Stevenson, on the other hand, could do the same thing too at 135 and 140 if Devin Haney's not lurking around there, you know what I mean, anymore. So back to my point about Shakur Stevenson and what type of problems he gives with Devin Haney. In order to compete with a guy like Devin Haney, at least, you have to jab with him. And I saw a lot of points in that fight where George Kambosos wasn't jabbing with Devin Haney with any type of authority whatsoever, because Devin Haney was just like offsetting him with that jab. Like that jab was so stiff that, like I said before, George Kambosos couldn't do anything. He was offset by everything. He had to reset. You know how he had that jittery guard throughout the entire fight? Just like how he has it in all of the fights. That's not going to fool anybody. But a guy like Shakur Stevenson understands how to use that herky-jerky style and knows how to feint a lot better than a guy like George Kambosos, because Shakur Stevenson is a lot more athletic. He's a lot more disciplined, you know, when implementing the style of a southpaw. He actually knows how to step over the lead foot of an orthodox fighter. And he could probably jab with Devin Haney, and which is very important for him to do, you know. And the left hand, it's going to be a fight between who's going to land their left hand or who's going to land their right hand. And I think the best punch that Devin Haney has that nobody talks about is probably his right uppercut. And Shakur Stevenson's best punch, I think, is his left hand, which is probably his straight left hand when he throws a 1-2. It's almost like a reverse of it, of a 1-2, where he throws the straight left hand first and then he throws the jab. So that's going to be something, you know what I mean, to see a fight like that, you know. But like I said before, Shakur Stevenson is going to have to jab with Devin Haney. He kind of matches him in terms of dimension. So it's going to be a battle of inches. It's going to be a battle of distance, all of that. But those two are definitely like the top candidates, I think, for opponents that could give Devin Haney problems. But to be honest, it's hard for me to see them capitalize on it. You know, it's hard for me to see them beat a guy like Devin Haney. The best chance is a guy like Shakur Stevenson, man, because Shakur Stevenson matches him in IQ and acumen, and they both got history together. All three of them actually have history together, and you know, sparring, the amateurs, everything like that. And you got other fighters out there too, like Ryan Garcia, that were in that class, you know, Teofimo Lopez. But to me, those guys are like two levels like down from a guy like Devin Haney and Tank. So, well, and obviously Shakur Stevenson. So, yeah, man, those two definitely. But if Devin Haney moves up after this fight, with well, not after this fight. I mean, after he became undisputed and like the whole thing with George Kambosos, I wouldn't be too mad at it. But at the same time, I want to see that Tank fight so badly, man. But there's good opponents up there for Devin Haney that he could fight. He could fight Josh Taylor. if Josh Taylor is still gonna stay at 140 pounds, because I don't see Josh Taylor beating guys at 147 pounds. And Devin Haney could definitely like campaign around there. He could fight Gary Antoine Russell. That's another good opponent that is coming up right now. So, and plus, I think those two might end up fighting in the future, you know, because Devin Haney did want to fight his older brother, Gary Russell Jr., the 126-pound fighter. So, um, Gary Antoine Russell really wants to fight Devin Haney too. So, that fight would probably have to take place at 140 pounds. And you also got Jack Catterall around there. But even though Jack Catterall has a lot of experience in sparring too and all of that, it's not as much as Devin Haney's. And I think Devin Haney is a lot more skilled than anyone realizes. Like, we're talking pound for pound talent. So that's hard for me to see, man. But in terms of other styles at 135 pounds, like while still keeping in that range, I mean, you got guys like Pitbull Cruz, you know what I mean? Like, he has that style, that rough and rugged style, where he's like in the high guard, bobbing and weaving. So maybe I would like to see Devin Haney face that style too, you know what I mean? Just to see like how he does with like a full all-on pressure fighter that hits hard with both hands, man. So um and plus that would be a great preparation for a guy like Gervonta Davis. But if I were Gervonta Davis, I would be pursuing this fight with Devin Haney right now before Devin Haney gets even more experience and gains a lot more confidence in being the undisputed champion. So if I were Leonard Ellerbe or Floyd Mayweather or Al Heyman, whoever's running Gervonta Davis's career, and I really, really want to make him an undisputed champion and a star, I would be pursuing Devin Haney right now, right at this moment. Like, we would be talking about contracts and all of that after those fights with on the top rank contract that Devin Haney has. So I'm not sure if he's going to be fighting Lomachenko after this well, if this rematch even happens between George Kambosos, because George Kambosos uh, doesn't seem like well, nobody wants to see that rematch. Let's put it that way, because George Kambosos says that he wants it, but I sense like a very half-hearted statement every time that I hear him say that he wants to run it back with Devin Haney. So I don't even know if that rematch happens. If that's the case, then even better, man. We could move on to the Gervonta Davis fight. But depending on the contract, he may end up fighting Lomachenko. But if I were Tank, I'd be pursuing Devin Haney right now at the moment. So those are my thoughts on Devin Haney as a fighter. And potentially I could see him capping out at like 147 pounds, because 147 pounds, I think, fits his dimensions. And if he goes up any further, man, I don't know. Unless it's like the right opponent, of course. But definitely 147 pounds for him would probably be like his prime cap. So those are my thoughts about it. Let me know what y'all think. Who do you guys think would be Devin Haney? And do you disagree with the fighters that I picked? Or am I missing somebody that I should look at? Because I'm definitely going to look at a bunch of other fighters at 135 pounds, man. Now that everything is sorted out and there is no dispute in the undisputed champion, like how Devin Haney always emphasized on. So all roads leads to Devin Haney, man. So appreciate it, y'all.